back to
Grit Untapped News. We figured out some pretty cool things about media and marketing and what they do.
But today we brought the queen herself, Mrs. Ivy. Okay, so my first question for you is, why did you get into the Department of Media Marketing? Like, why did you become the leader of it?
Well, I guess I recognize that it's a big part of a corporation to have a marketing program and a plan for marketing. And so I wanted kids to have that experience because it's a big job market out there. You know, there are a lot of people that are in marketing and communications and public relations, and right now there are a ton of jobs in that field. And so I wanted kids who were good with that kind of thing or who were interested in that kind of thing to have the opportunity to try those, you know, avenues out and maybe see what that might be like if they were really interested in it for a career.
Yes, and I understand that Grit Untapped has been going for at least 5 to 6 years, and I want to know who came up with the idea in the first place of Grit Untapped.
Mr. Rogers actually did. I'm sure you're surprised by that, but we had visited a team down in Syracuse, and they did a STEAM team program. And their big project was putting a Mars rover on the moon. They did something really techy. And we really liked the idea. We all went to visit that school. And we really loved the idea of the teaming approach and the STEAM approach. However, we knew that something that technical and working with an architectural firm like they do was just not going to happen around here. We don't have that kind of industry here. So we thought about what we could do that would use our local resources that we could do as a big team project with our kids. And we have a ton of the maple syrup industry here. We found out that we have 27 maple trees on campus. And so we said, this might be an avenue that we could take and do something really great with.
So I know you said like something about how media marketing could really affect someone's future, but what do you think media marketing does for our company?
Well, I think because we're not actually in the business realm, we're not a corporation like outside of the school. So that limits us in a way. You guys go home and tell your parents about what you're doing at school, but other businesses wouldn't necessarily recognize that unless they were part of the school community in some way, unless they had a student here. And so by becoming part of that business world and reaching out for community support, you are essentially becoming a real business, you know, and you are asking for people to buy your product. And so it gets us known, we become branded. And a lot of people out there now that we are in our 5th year, as you said, a lot of people now recognize the Grit Untapped name. And it's taken us 5 years to build that up, but people start recognizing it now, either through school or through outside community agencies. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It shows that we've been successful at our marketing.
Well, 5 years ago when it was brought into the middle school as a project and a company, there was probably some debut about whether or not it was a good thing, but what was your opinion when it was proposed?
When it was proposed, I think I was nervous about it because, you know, you get used to teaching in a certain way. And so I think I was a little nervous to try something different, but I knew that some of the things that we were doing were not reaching the kids the way that we wanted to. And this was a way of teaching them skills that they could be excited about. It was way more hands-on, and people are learning communication skills, they're learning writing skills, they're learning, you know, all kinds of those things that we normally would do with a book and a story, but now we're reading more technical texts and doing more difficult tasks with those skills. So I was nervous at first, but I think that, you know, I was really excited about the prospect. And I think that you're right too. There were some people that were like, oh, I don't know about this, you know, this might turn out badly. And but after they really got into it and were able to see what the students were able to produce, I think that made believers out of a lot of people.
And as you could better than they thought it would.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's kind of spread through our school, right? You know, now other people are doing those same kinds of project-based, hands-on learning activities for kids to really get their feet, you know, wet in different kinds of jobs or projects or, you know, disciplines. So that's nice.
So like you said, like there's a lot of people who think it's a negative thing. So what would you say to those people who do think it's a negative thing now that haven't really been a part of it?
I think that people in the world really want education to change and evolve with time, but people are comfortable right now with the education they knew as kids.
Yeah.
And so to step outside of that realm sometimes is hard for people. They want education to change, but not really too much so that they can't recognize it anymore. And that makes people nervous. Like, are they actually learning anything?
That's just the only way of learning that they've been used to, that they know.
Exactly. You're exactly right. So what they know is what they're comfortable with. And so it takes a little time for people to step outside of their box and see the benefits of this. But I think that, you know, we are producing students. For an example, one of our students recently asked, you know, if we would walk in graduation with them this year, because they were our first class of STEAM students that went through this project. And he said, I never would have made it through if we hadn't done that stuff.
That's awesome.
And I think that that's a real testament to that. And, you know, we were interviewed by the Schools to Watch program 2 years ago, and our COO that we had that year said, education like this can change your life. And I think that those student statements about what we're doing here are the most important things.
And I think too that like even just doing this Grit Untapped thing, it gets your head in like the real world almost, because you have to be on time. You have deadlines. You have like all this stuff that you will have when you're an adult and when you're in the real world.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really cool too about
To
this.
be prepared.
Absolutely. And I think you guys are working with outside agencies too. It's not just your teachers that are teaching you things, but you're working with people that are actually in the field doing these jobs. All the guest speakers that are coming in, or the outside resources you're using to create, you know, your projects and stuff. Those are connections you'll have forevermore, and you'll be able to say, well, you know, it wasn't just Mrs. Ivy that taught me about, you know, being literate in terms of media, but, you know, other people out in the business world did that too. And I think that's sometimes more valuable to kids, you know, seeing people who are actually in it too, and not just teachers or parents telling them that, you know.
In the future, if you want to get a good job or go to college, this could be as a good reference.
Absolutely. And we talked about that a little bit, how, you know, some of our local business owners have been seeing that from kids that don't have experience anywhere yet, but they have this as an experience that they can say, you know, I actually have a little experience. It wasn't paid experience, but it was valuable to know about these 21st century learning skills that I really need to have an actual job.
To end on a lighter note, like in the past 5 years, what has been the most exciting moment for you?
I think that one thing that was super exciting for us was when we had an outside community member come that did not have a student in school, but because of our marketing, you know, they saw the ad in the newspaper that we were doing a Maple Showcase. She came and she talked to Mr. Rogers and Mrs. Eldridge for a significant amount of time afterward, and she called the next day and said, how much money do you need to build a sugar house? And she is the one who gave us the donation to build the sugar house that we're building this year. And that's another testament to, you know, the community being involved in education. She's not a business owner. She, you know what I mean? She believes in what we're doing here. So that was really, really exciting.
That's awesome.
And then selling out. You know, having made all these products and having nothing left at the end of the night shows how much people love our product and love the fact that you guys are doing this. And I just think that those are exciting things. And we had 3 students, 2 of whom started their own maple syrup business. They're working, and our CEO 1 year is now working for Moon Valley Maple, and he's changing things up there. He's doing really great things up at Moon Valley Maple.
That's
with
awesome.
the experience that he was here. So those kinds of things make it exciting for us, because we know we're making change, we're affecting change, and doing good things for kids when you can see the results like that.
We need some more maple trees.
We do need more maple trees. Mrs. Jeanette is working on that. She's planting as we go. And actually, we do have the opportunity to tap some of the trees at the rec park, but we just aren't quite there yet in terms of an evaporator that's big enough to handle all that sap, and, you know, the vehicle to bring the sap to and fro. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing that makes it a little bit difficult, but.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
And we will see you next time on Grit Untapped News.